All right, my Dominican people, thank you very much. Those of you who are non-Dominicans, but you are glued to the live feed here tonight, thank you very much as well. It is the 7th, yes, the 7th of September, 2024, and that is where I want to say a special good evening to all of you on this blessed rock called Dominica. Those of you in the region, good evening to you. And those of you much further afield, a pleasant good evening to you as well. And maybe even good morning already, based on where you're listening from. But it's all good, it's all well to be here for another live Saturday night engagement with you people. I always cherish the times that we are here. Let me just straight up the bat before I get into things here with us. Tell you guys in terms of an apology for not being here for three Saturdays. In terms of sabbatica, yes. Just took a sabbatica off because the body sometimes calls for that. And of late I've been doing some extra working activities. So that too, it took a toll on the body, and I'm just trying to pace myself now in terms of just being here with us every Saturday, yeah? So thank you very much, those of you call, those of you text, whatever it is in terms of query for the past 3 Saturdays. I appreciate that, especially my elderly crew. I never knew I had so many elderly people locked in every Saturday. I never knew that. Sometimes, everything works out for the better. And so, me being not here for the past 3 Saturdays, I got a better appreciation for the listenership in terms of the people out there. Some of your names I do see pop up there, tall. But you tell me that you are glued in, yeah? And especially for my younger people as well. There's one young man in particular that I went to a business place, I think, two Mondays back, yes? And the young brother was there, very young brother. And he walked up to me and he said, Lofty, I am always listening, I'm always glued to the live feed, thanks for the information. And this brother could not have been more than 20 years old. And for sure, I know I cherish my elderly people, but when I get that kind of sentiment and encouragement from young people, I have to take it to heart. And so, young brother from the deep south, I will not mention the name of the village you're from, but thank you very much. That in and out of itself gives me the encouragement. It serves me what I need in terms of the adrenaline or the energy to continue in what I do, because at least someone is listening and some people, you guys are listening and taking note. So thank you very, very much. I know there are many, many more others, but that young man in particular, I had to single him out tonight for being so upfront and say, Lofty, I'm listening each and every time. And so to the many of you who always take time off, thank you very, very much indeed. Yes? It's always a pleasure, Dominicans, when we can come together and speak about our country primarily, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I saw my friend Navia Newman from Grenada locked into the live. Navia, good evening to you, my sister, in a very special way. You too, Navia, and others like you in terms of the social media presence that we always have to help the situation in one way, shape, or form. You give me that energy I need sometimes. And so I want to say thank you for keeping the flame alive in Grenada, whilst yours truly try to, and others try to do that in Dominica and the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, yeah? Love from Grenada, thank you, Navia, each and every time for that love. This lady, I can tell you, every time, once you, please befriend Navia Newman for me. Please, those of you who are not a friend, this lady, I can tell you, whenever she goes live, I always take time to listen because there's always something positive that comes from her mouth, and I normally learn some things from her, and so I wish you too could learn some things as well. So Navia, keep up the good work, my friend, and with people like you there, the Caribbean, it will be a much better place to live, yeah? Even though we don't realize the benefits of our work now, but the children to come, the future, we are laying that sort of foundation for the future. And so thank you very, very much indeed. All right, folks, where are we going this evening in terms of the information? Let me just say that to some people out there who have played their part in making my work on the ground in the communities in Dominica a little easier, I want to thank you on this people's behalf, because what I took on of late, people, is a school supply initiative, or school supplies, because that one supply, school supplies initiative, where I have been promising you guys some information on the situation at our main prison facility in Dominica at Stoke Farm. And so when I took that sabbatical from you guys, I did what I had to do to get it from the horse's mouth, yeah? So more than one horse. And I can report to you people that the state prison is not the state prison that we knew before, where all was seemingly well at the Dominica State Prison. I can tell you from a very, very factual standpoint that the officials at the prison, they are finding it a very difficult task to feed, yes, you heard me right, to feed the inmates up at the state prison. The males outnumber the women by far. The prison, I'm being told, well, I'll get to the overcrowdedness of it in just a while. But the prison officials, the guards, the people who take care of the inmates at that prison, they are having difficulty in feeding the people up at the prison in their care. And that I can tell you because the people who should know, they are speaking. They may not come publicly to speak like me, but they are speaking. And so how could it be that a Dominica, our country Dominica, when for whatever reason one runs afoul of the law and is placed up at the state prison, the sort of meal that's supposed to be given at the state prison, the officials up there are finding it very difficult to make ends meet. And so again, it goes back to the, as I keep saying, the malgovernance of our country. The prisoners are behind closed doors. Their freedom is taken away from them. So they don't have the opportunity to come and tell you exactly what they're going through in terms of, primarily I'm saying now, their meals. And I'm not talking about any buffet situation. But the state, there's a responsibility placed on the state to provide for the inmates at our state prison in a reasonable manner. So as I said, I'm not expecting the state to provide this kind of luxury in terms of food. But there has to be a standard as it relates to the feeding, the nutrition of the inmates at the state prison. And so the officials of the prison, who they are finding it very difficult, I guess they cannot come to you publicly and say to you like I'm saying it to you. But it is when they sit every Monday or every Friday to cater for the next week in terms of meals, then these people are finding it very difficult every week on. I can even tell you that the prison itself sort of have a setup sort of to defray some costs on the state as it relates to they sort of catering for themselves in terms of livestock and whatever it is. And presently, there are some pigs that the state prison, it is rearing to sort of defray some costs. And even the feed now, not feed for the inmates I'm talking about now, the feed for the pigs, the officials up there are finding it difficult to feed the pigs so that the pigs, in terms of pork and meat, can be fed to the inmates. So you can now start to craft in your mind the dilemma that is happening at the state prison. So is that now a mirror image of what we are seeing happening or doling out in our larger economy now? Is that a mirror image? Because everywhere you go in Dominica, you're hearing the people on the ground telling you things are tight, things are hard. So I am in no state of mind to think differently, whereby the same state that's supposed to be providing in some way, shape, or form for the citizens that are balling every day, that same state cannot come up in terms of helping the state prison now meet the needs of the inmates, which is their responsibility. And so the Minister of Security, Mr. Blackmore, when you hear him speak, he will not tell you that. When you hear Mr. Blackmore speak, you will think everything is nice and dandy at the state prison. But these are the real-time situation that goes on at the state prison. At least we are talking about the prison for now, that the Minister of Security will not tell you. No, Marijo, things are not bright and creamy at all, at all, at all. Not in the Dominica that I live. A matter of fact, for somebody to have uttered those words, they are living in another land. And I am saying that land is La La Land. Not in real land. They are living somewhere else. So the state prison is having difficulty to provide for the inmates. And that is just a sign of things to come. The same state prison is having much difficulty even to buy feed now for the animal in its care, or the animals in its care, pigs and whatever the reason of them. Added to that situation now, added to that, we still at the state prison. I am hearing now the way people get promoted now at the state prison there's much room for improvement. So you have officers up there for years working year in, year out. And I'm saying they should put a little section in the prison and call it Hollywood, because that's the only place I know people are acting like that, is in Hollywood. You have a lot of acting positions up at the state prison where men and women are in those positions for years. And they're acting this, acting that, acting this, acting that. And some of these men and women, these acting positions doesn't serve them well now, nor in the future. Because you can be in an acting position for how many years? If you are not solid in that position in terms of appointment, then your pension, your gratuity, or whatever needs to be calculated at the end of that cycle will be affected. And so again, you have people working for the state, but it is sort of having them on a leash. And you know, when some people are acting, then the victimization and whatever that goes with that, it is much easier to be meted out. So Minister Blackmore, you are the minister of that facility. You need to look into the actors you have at the state prison. Because these men are crying out for better. You cannot have a junior minister in a junior minister's position for year in, year out. No. You cannot have a senior, a junior minister, no, a junior official, sorry. You cannot have a senior official at the prison in that position, just acting for timely memorial. No. And what now puts the salt in the wound now is that you have ministers of government now, when some of their people come to them for jobs, they just send them at the state prison, those who fit the bill. And those ministerial positions now, I call them, they have a kind of a way, a phony way of even meeting people in position as actors and surpassing them, climbing the ladder above them when the journeys come lately. That is adding salt to the wound. And I'm only zeroing now on the state prison. But that happens in a number of different quasi-government institutions. It happens across the board. And so you could now imagine the work dynamics, the work etiquette now that goes on, the camaraderie that goes on among fellow workers. Can you imagine you in an acting position for 10 years and someone gets a job today as a junior officer and he climbs to senior in 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and from senior goes to principal officer and goes up the rank and leaves you there in that position as an actor? And I am saying on behalf of these prison officials, that cannot be right. Ça, pas bon. That needs to change. And you can now well understand with that happening, with these dynamics taking place now, you can well understand the low morale now of the execution of duty that goes on in these institutions. People are not encouraged to work, to give a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, because the victimization, the suppression, everything goes on. We're talking about the state prison now, but in other areas as well. So what you expect to get out in terms of output of work, you're not getting that. And so who suffers? Not these ministers. The state suffers. And the state is not something in the stratosphere. The state is, we are representatives of the state. So it's we, the people, that are suffering. That's it. That's the reality. And so, folks, you know I don't really put words in my mouth or water in my wine, as it were, calling a spade a spade. And so now I am using this opportunity this afternoon to call on Rayburn Blackmore, as short-lived as he may be in that position. He is there now. And so whenever you get the opportunity again, Minister Blackmore, where you talk as if you got hot potatoes or dashing in your mouth, you need to speak articulately to the people or to the situation at the state prison. And I'm laying them out for you this evening. So you cannot say you don't know. And I know you know. You know more than me, because you are the minister. So don't do like a Saul and think, well, everything is well. Everything is not well. Now, still at the state prison, there's a rule or slash a law. Okay, you know, institutions make their policies, you know. So there are such at the state prison as well, and you can well imagine that. There is this rule in terms of a policy now that the prison implemented and supposed to be adhered to by the officials now, by the workers, in that they are not supposed to sort of have any, for want of a better term, hanky-panky relationship with any inmate. The relationship supposed to be professional as can be. Because you'd well imagine it's a security setting that is there. And so no preferential treatment should be meted out to anybody. So there's this rule, there's this general order that the officials not supposed to be so into one or two or few inmates above and beyond in terms of the closeness, the connectivity, and the dealings, and you know everything that goes with human behavior. And it is even stretched a bit further outside of the prison walls now, that these officials who work at the prison, they are not to be seen, you know, publicly or, you know, in the public view, even in these hanky-panky positions with relatives of these inmates who are in. So that gives us the scope of what these people are trying to, what that rule is trying to set up. But, and the bombshell is now, the bombshell is coming after the but. I am being told from very, very reliable sources in the face of that rule that I just spoke of, 2 prison officials, and these are female prison officials, they are now bearing child or children for either people who are in the prison as inmates or just got out of the prison as inmates. And the authority under Mr. Blackmore have that as a hush-hush. And that you can take to the bank. That you can take to the bank. So the system that was set up or is in place for things not to happen basically is going awry, where some officials now are concerned. And I know some of you may have your rationales or reasonings or justifications as to trying to justify what I said. But it is your suggestion, not mine. And you're entitled to it. Yes, folks, you are entitled to it. So just to recap what I said, 2 female officials got pregnant for either inmates presently or just got out of the prison. So which means if they just got out, they had that relationship based on what I picked up from within the walls whilst in the prison setting. So even if that woman got pregnant when that inmate left, but that relationship that wasn't supposed to be started at the prison. Hence the pregnancy. And so I just want to qualify that before we move on. Yeah? But you have people who are supposed to be in the know of these things, will keep these things really undercover and let you believe all is well when all is not well. Finally, before I move on to another subject matter, I could not get information on the prison and not ask about Mr. Jonathan Lehrer. Jonathan Lehrer, just in case you don't know, is one, he and Mr. Snyder, accused of killing a Canadian man and woman, wealthy businessman in the south of Dominica sometime back. And he is now at the state prison awaiting his day in court. But so far, around that case, I can tell you, the politics is all around that case. Mr. Lehrer went down for bail. He was denied bail and was placed again on remand at the state prison. What I can tell you is that the same situation of he being a prostate cancer patient when he applied for bail, that situation, based on my sources, he is still in that position And so the fear is, if the state now cannot provide the care or the attention, the medication, whatever it is, to treat him and his prostate issue, then the court might have no choice in the matter but to release him on bail on a serious health condition. And so if or when that happens, you can tell yourself, you heard it here. Again, we have a healthcare system in Dominica that really doesn't give much to the citizens of Dominica. So through that back door sort of health situation, Mr. Jonathan Lehrer, accused, may well be released on bail if the state cannot provide for him and his medical situation that he has presented to the court and he keeps talking about. So don't be surprised on the next appearance, he may be let out. I wouldn't be surprised. And the fear is, the very fear is, once this man gets out on bail and moves to Texas, as he said in the first hearing, then a lot of people now are saying, Lofty, once this man gets to Texas, that's it. We may not see this man appearing in our courts again. And so I am now making a special appeal to the state now. Whatever you guys have to do, because sometimes you guys do magic for all sorts of other reasons. So you now need to do a magic to help treat, mitigate, whatever it is, that health condition that this brother has said has befallen him. Ascertain if it's true, first and foremost. If it is true, try and deal with it. Because once he has to go out there to deal with it, there's a very strong chance that Mr. Snyder now might be the one who have to take the fall. I rest that there. Mr. Linton Alfred, my brother. Good evening to you, my brother. Linton Alfred. I just saw Linton showed up on the live feed. Linton, I thought you were washing the new vehicle, Linton. I thought you were washing it. Linton, my brother, won a brand new vehicle from Auto Trade. Look, he laughing. When I called Linton in the night, Linton is telling me he didn't know you was there. And anyway, Linton, congrats, my brother. Happy for you. As a struggling man, I know you needed that. And just take good care of it, my brother. Wish you all the best. Yeah? Cool. All right, Dominicans, let's move on now in the interest of time. You know, the boy say he just come from the farm with it. He's a farmer, so that will do very, very well. Let's move on, Dominicans, in the interest of time. There's a word that I want to bring to your attention. And I want to bring that word to your attention to make an analogy now about our situation in Dominica, so that's the best way I could try to paint a vivid picture in your mind as to where we were and where we are in Dominica. There's a word that, should I say, well, most of us, because some people like that word, don't like to hear, and that is the word molestation. Can anybody on the live tell me what molestation means? Anybody? In your own lingo. Tell me what the word molestation means. I'm waiting for one or two comments. Somebody molested you or is molesting you. What are they doing to you? Call a guy sexual assault. Call you right on the money. Anybody else? If somebody is molesting you or molesting a child or molesting somebody, what is that person doing to you or whoever it is? Sexual activity without your consent, you fall leave it out. Abusing you. Albinoa, good evening to you, my brother. Thanks for being here and thanks for your comments. Albinoa says assault, abuse of a person. No, not Al that said that. Let me see what Al said. Abusing you. Joe Benjamin said what I said before. All right, so basically, you guys are on the money. Spot on. And I really use that very strong word, as it were, to drive home a point or two as to where we're going next. Because this week, it was Monday, Tuesday gone, I pull up in the bank and I met an old school friend. And we were just having a chit chat. I'll not call his name, but if he's listening, he knows exactly what I'm going to say now. Because I told him, my brother, I'm going to use that quote of yours, but I'll give you the credits or kudos for it. So thank you, brother. In conversing with this brother said to me, Lofty, the Dominican Labour Party has been politically molesting Dominicans for the past 25 years. And I said, my brother, I cannot agree with you more. So the same way that somebody could be molesting a child, molesting somebody, it is abusing them. All the description you give them, they are spot on. Taking advantage against their will, whatever it is. And that is not good. That cannot be good. I now want to transfer that treatment now to not physical molestation, but a political one now. If the physical molestation is going on with some of the actors in the DLP, I don't know. And so my disclaimer is up. It may be, but I don't know. You never know what happens behind closed doors. Marijo, whoever wants to spin my words can spin it. I speak my words, and my words are well thought out thoughts, well thought out words. And so whoever wants to spin it into what they want to say, that's fine, no problem with that. But my word is my defense. And so I am saying the Dominican Labour Party has been politically molesting Dominicans for the past 25 years. The same way a man or woman would molest another, and it would not be good. It would be contrary law, contrary to human behavior, contrary to the humanness or etiquette that we know. I am saying what we, the Dominican public, have been going through, it is the very same thing, but on the political front for 25 years. $25. It has gotten worse, progressively worse, I must add. So in 2000, when these guys took over, we were on a track. Rosie wanted to put us on a track. Rosie dead. Pierre Charles come, he dead. And I keep saying to you guys, certain people in the Dominican Labour Party, they knew exactly what went wrong with Rosie and Piero in terms of their death. And unless somebody can bring tangible evidence to me to prove otherwise, I will go down in my grave saying Rosie Douglas, Pierre Charles, they were gotten rid of. They were pushed aside because the molestation that I'm talking about now, these guys, they didn't have that in mind. And the political molestation I'm talking about, those of you who remember very well, some of that started in 2004. When 20 years later, a man who was a minister in Pierre Charles's cabinet left Pierre Charles, did not tell Pierre Charles he was going to Barbados to sit with our newfound friends, our newfound colonizers, who I am saying are the Chinese. He did not tell Pierre Charles a dime. He did not give Pierre Charles a heads up. And he went behind Pierre Charles's back and gave the Chinese a commitment that he, when he's prime minister, he would have severed ties with Taiwan and brought China on, the Red Dragon on. To us as a people in Dominica, without the knowledge, without the decency of telling his boss. And so some of you guys can like to hear it, some of you guys can do like to hear it. I am saying some of that political molestation started there. And so 20 years after, it has only gotten progressively worse. And I am not seeing it getting any better unless something is done about it. And who can do? Somebody asked that comment earlier. Who is willing to stop that? We'll get to that. So the psychiatrists and the people who deal with psychology and the nurses and the doctors and the healthcare people and the counselors and whoever it is, they will tell you some of the characteristics or the traits of a molester. It is the coming around in very subtle of ways and trying to get his way or her way with a clear evil intent in mind. And so these people will come and paint a picture as good as gold. But what is beneath that is the devil incarnate. And so our subtle days, our subtle years, when things did not look as if they were going to be where we are today, those were our subtle of years. Oh, give the young man a chance. Give the dimpled man a chance. We boasted about we in the world having the youngest leader and all the other accolades that went with it. We did not know then that we were only digging our own grave You did not know then. We did not know then. We were only digging our own grave. And so 20 years later, now that hole has been fully dug, 6 feet, we are asking, who is going to go in? Well, it is you. You who have dug your pit, that will be plunging in. You who have dug your pit, who have dug your resting place, shall lie in it. Mr. Rudolph Marie, I'll give you a call sometime later, brother. Yes, people? And so for 20 years now, we have been on a politically molested mission by the Dominican Labour Party, doing Dominicans one thing after another. And for some reason or rationale that doesn't make sense in my head, the Dominican people just cannot. Just like a molested child is afraid to speak because they are threatened to death every day. Just so, we are being threatened that if we do this, that will happen. If we do that, this will happen. And it is right there upon us, people. It is not growing anymore. It is now fully grown. It has taken roots of its own. And trust me, the only way you can get off a well-rooted evil tree, it is by poisoning the roots, getting to the root. The branches, cutting the branches, trimming it will not cut it. And that is what some of you have been doing. You have been pruning the branches. You know, when you prune a tree, you give it more of what it needs agriculturally, that is, to grow. Stop pruning that Dominican Labour Party molested tree. Stop it. We all need to come under one banner and decide we need to poison the root. Cut it down. Poison that root so that it will never, ever show up its head again in this country. That is what needs to be done. That is the only solution. Other than that, we are stuck.